Alright, the other day I reworked my joiner knives. They were relatively sharp yet, but I was just in a sharpening mood, so I decided to redo them. And what happened was I had them in my jig and I was using sandpaper and then stones, but what happened was as I was using it I got terrific edge on them. No problem there. These knives are new, by the way. But when I got done and put them in my joiner and ran my test board over the knives, I had snipe on the end here. And so I moved my fence in and out, and I got snipe only in the middle of the blades. So I took them out and examined them, and when I put them up against the straight edge, what I had done was I had created a camber in them. And the only reason that I can think of that happened was uneven hand pressure on those knives as I was sharpening them. Pushing harder on one side than the other, and then rotating the jig and using it again, and then pushing again with probably my right hand with too much force on the one side, causing that knife to be, cut at a concave angle. So what I did was I put a camber on the blade, all of them, and so I decided then to take the plane. I took them out of the joiner again, set them in my jig this way, and built this wooden block to hold the jig. And then I was able to work the knives in this direction with my diamond stone, and I was able to check as I reworked them to make sure that I was working the part in the middle at first, and then ending up with a straight edge. Put them back, that took me the better part of a half a day to get those 4 knives back to a straight edge. I put them back in my joiner, ran my board again, no snipe, and a beautiful finish. So kind of a lesson learned there for me the hard way, but you've got to be careful when you're using a jig like this to hold the knives that you're not pushing down too hard one side or the other. From now on, I believe this is the way I'll use this jig. I'll set my angle this way, or I can read the knife, set the knives on a granite surface, and then get the angle I want, and then just work the stones in this direction here, constantly checking for straightness. So let me work these knives. These are brand new, but they're far from sharp. The good news is for me, I guess, they're ground at a 35-degree angle. I want 45, so I won't have to take off that much metal here to get a sharp edge, I don't think. Well, incidentally, these blades I bought at Holborn, and they're out of Florida, and I paid $35 about, now 34, 35 for 4 high-speed steel blades for my joiner. If you're using a 3-blade system, then obviously they're going to be a little cheaper. So I didn't think that was too bad a deal at all. What I'm going to do first of all, though, is I'm going to take and run these on the back and see how flat they are, and then come back and use them in this jig. But I wanted to show this to you first. All I did was make a wooden block here, ran a couple dados for the width and the length of the jig here, the top part of the jig, so that it nestles in there just like that, and then clamp it to my bench to keep it from moving. So that worked out pretty slick. I suppose I could also have, you know, instead of clamping it here, I could clamp down on this. I think I might do that. Yeah, that's even better. I had to reposition it on my bench here, but now that'll allow me to take my stones and work the edges this way. But first I'm going to take care of the backs, and then we'll come back and see how this works for me. Here's the knife right out of the box. Nothing done to it. Then I put the bluing fluid on it. This is after a 220 grit water stone, and then this is 320 wet dry sandpaper. So you can see that I've got a ways to go yet, but eventually I'll try to get this up to about a 400 grit, but I've got to get a more consistent shine on this. I still have some areas where the scratches from the 220 grit stone, I can still see them. So I've got to keep working this blade here. But that's the stages, and then when I get to the 400 grit polish, hopefully I'll have a pretty much a mirror finish on the back, or at least a finish that'll be workable for what I'm doing with these knives. Alright, that's up to 600 grit. They look pretty good. You know, you can still see few hollow, I shouldn't say a few, there's some hollow spots here and there, but the knife edge is generally polished right to that edge. And I'll keep working these as I sharpen them. I'll keep working the backs, but that's much better looking back than it was out of the box. So I'm going to put them in my jig and see if I can put an edge on them, a straight edge, and a sharp edge here. So give me a second. Alright, I hope you can see that reflection right there. It's just a little micro bevel. Because these are cut at 35 degrees and I'm sharpening them at 45, I'm just out on that outside edge. But that is tremendously sharp. Extremely sharp, I should say. It is beautiful. And the other thing is, when I put my straight edge on it, it's a straight edge as well. I mean, you can't see daylight hardly at all. This particular knife, I had to work. Let me just show you what I did here. When I got done, when I did the initial sharpening with my 1000 grit diamond stone, this knife had a little bit of a rock to it, and what I had was about 7 inches or so, maybe not 7, probably 4 inches of this was nice and straight, and then it kind of tailed off right here, and I could take my straight edge and rock it, and now when I put it on there, it's rock solid. So I had to just work this edge a little bit more to get it straightened out, and that was really easy to do. The other knife was good and straight. So now they're both straight, got a nice edge on them. I'm going to work the backs after I take them out here on my 5000 grit, and then put the other two knives in here and show you how I did it. Alright, so I got my jig clamped inside this board here with this one running down the center, so it is rock solid, it's not going anywhere. And the first thing I want to do is check these edges to see if they're straight. And that one's good and straight, and so is that one. So I'm going to take my diamond stone here, 1000 grit, and just go back and forth. And just take a look at them and feel for that wire edge, which I've got all the way down that one. Not so much on this one. I got a spot right there where it's kind of missing. So this, I'm kind of letting the weight of this stone do the work. It's really heavy, but I'm going to put pressure now on this side. There we go. All right, check it for straightness here again. Still doing well. And that's good and straight. Okay, so now my 5,000 grit stone. I'm just going to polish these up. That should do it. Still got that burr on the back side. I'll work that off on the flat. But that's all it took. Not much at all. And I'll store these knives away. And they'll be good to go when I get ready to remove my other ones. So there you go. Thanks for watching.